Welcome back to another video about the Re framework. In this demo, we'll explore the framework's comprehensive logging structure that uses different log levels to output statuses of transactions, exceptions, and transitions between states. All set? Let's begin. We want to run the process in debug mode to see how it performs. To do this, we've already uploaded a few transactions from the Excel file to the queue. Let's debug the process. We can follow its progress in the output panel. It starts by killing all the processes and continues with opening the UIDemo application and logging in. Then it gets one transaction item and starts entering the data into the fields. As you may have already noticed, the UI automation activities are set to the hardware events input method, so the robot takes control of the mouse and keyboard. This is something that we need to address, so we'll now stop the execution. And let's change the input mode property value from hardware events to simulate for the use application or browser activities. We must make this change in the UIDemo open and the UIDemo add transaction workflows. Within the UIDemo open workflow, we click Use Application UIDemo, go to Properties, and select the Simulate Value for the input mode property. Moreover, we need to set Click Before Typing to None, which generates the warning since it's not relevant for Simulate. Now let's do the same for the UIDemo add transaction workflow. Great! Let's also set the debug value for the timeout property to a lower value so that UI interaction errors take less time to occur. We do this by accessing Project Settings and clicking UI Automation Modern. Now we can go to Timeout and type in a lower value, 5 seconds, for instance. Perfect! Let's go ahead and save our changes. Now if we refresh our queue, we can see that some of the items were processed successfully, while others still display the new status. Note that stopping the execution from Studio, like we just did, works like killing the process. As a result, in our case, one of the queue items remained suspended with the status in progress. Let's run the process again in debug mode. It opens the application again and continues the processing with the items which hold the status new. Perfect! All of the transactions are processed, and since no more data is available, the process goes to the end process state, closes the application, and stops, as seen in the output panel. Before moving on, let's go to Orchestrator and refresh our queue. The remaining transactions have been successfully processed. Let's check the log messages available in the output panel. In the panel, we can see only the message for the log entry while the level is indicated by the color. However, if we double-click a message, for example, processing transaction number 1, we'll see all of the log fields. Here, we've got the business process name log field. You may remember that its value is set in the config file in the settings sheet. While the log field is added in the initialization state using an add log fields activity. Any log message generated after this activity is executed and will contain the business process name field. Based on the previous videos, what log fields do you think the transaction successful log entry will contain? Here, we have quite a few additional log fields, like the transaction number, transaction ID, field 1, field 2. These are set in the Set Transaction Status workflow file. On the success branch, we add the transaction status. number, ID, field 1, field 2. We log the message, and then we remove the previously added fields. We don't want these fields to be added to all log messages, just the ones generated by this activity. With minor differences, the same happens for logs generated on the business exception branch. And the system exception branch. The values for the transaction ID, field 1 and field 2 are set in the Get Transaction Data workflow. Transaction ID holds the current timestamp. Transaction field 1 holds the information extracted from the queue item, and we haven't set a value for transaction field 2. You can also find this information in the documentation for the reframework. If you want to learn more about logging, simply look for the Logging section in the Contents menu. As a quick recap, in this demo, we've explored how log fields and log messages are organized in the reframework to help us diagnose and fix published processes. If the UI automation activities are set to the hardware event input method, the robot takes control of the mouse and keyboard. We can change this by setting the input mode property value from hardware events to simulate. After watching this video, can you list the custom log fields that are in the reframework template and specify where they're used? Great! In the next video, we'll learn about business and system exception handling. Thank you for watching.